Hey guys, Dante here, and in this video I'll be diving into the future, you could say, of Path of Exile 2, that we recently got a reveal trailer for and gameplay and a lot of information yesterday. Right off the bat, cinematics. Very promising. I do hope that this is not a one-time deal. I do really hope that they insist and keep the cinematics for the campaign, provide us with more information about these, and it really keeps you attached to the story. I want to say, making the campaign less of a bore, at least for the first time you play through it. Like, will you still watch the cinematics 2 years, 3 years later? Probably not. But at the beginning, this is a good prequel to what is to come. They could add cinematics for the future leagues for POE 2. Even in the campaign, you could say that during the normal campaign, once they introduce a league or two, you can have a new cinematic for that as well. And I really do hope they keep it. The visuals, when it comes down to the actual gameplay, the visuals are looking really stunning. I do think that POE 2 is the next gen ARPG, honestly. The new engine makes the game look very modern. It's still dark, it's still gory, it's still bloody, it's still PoE, but it just looks extremely better. As the developer said yesterday in the Q&A section, they aim for the early access to last about a year, so hopefully by 2025, the end of 2025 or early 2026, we will have a full-fledged PoE 2 with leagues, and hopefully with the early access coming very soon, we will also get more updates to PoE 1. When it comes down to the combat of PoE 2, it does look nice, it does look fluid, it does look fun, but also complex. Now, what do I mean by complex? This complexity could be a double-edged sword, potentially deterring some players. One example is the weapon swap mechanic, right? The weapon swap mechanic, which introduces the dual skill tree, where you got one skill tree for a weapon and then you got another skill tree for another weapon. This could deter some players from exploring or enjoying the game. I haven't played the game, so I don't know how it feels, but based on PoE 1's weapon swapping, I don't know. The thing that I kind of fear, I would say, I don't know if fear is the right word, but I'm worried about the one-button builds, right? I like one-button builds, and with the weapon swapping and the combos and the stuff like that, I'm thinking that we are moving away from those one-button builds and into more like piano skilling, from piano flasking we go into piano skilling. You know what I mean? But a lot of people that actually played the game early have said a lot of positive things about it. So even though I'm skeptical, I'm also optimistic. That being said, combat in many clips still appears to be slow, but there were moments in which you could see like huge AoE screen clears, you could see high mobility gameplay, and since this is only one slice of the game and everything will evolve starting from December, we will just have to wait and see how the pacing actually goes. Another concern that I have when it comes down to certain classes, like the Monk, the Chayula Ascendancy, and the Blood Mage, it seems that when you kill monsters, they drop some orbs to restore health, mana, increase your damage, and etc. Personally, I'm not a fan of this system. I know Diablo 4 has it for its Blood something Necromancer, and I did not enjoy it, just casting a skill and then running around picking orbs. I am not a fan of that, so we'll see just how well implemented and not as invasive it is. The thing that I did like, as you can see on this boss, is that you can see the damage numbers above the boss's HP bar. Now this is a good quality of life feature, because you can actually see how much damage you're doing, and it could set a potential training dummy decoration inside your hideout to see how much damage you're doing. That would be cool. One can dream, right? Now, moving on to the campaign that they introduced. I am very excited to play through the campaign. I've always enjoyed new campaigns in ARPGs. Will I enjoy it in 2 years? Probably not. Will I want to skip it in 2 or 3 years? Probably yes. Now, there is some people that are saying that they should be able to skip the campaign entirely and jump straight into the endgame. I personally do not agree with this. Considering that GGG put a lot of time and effort into making the campaign like memorable, engaging, and replayable, I don't think we will ever get this option. They mentioned that they estimate the campaign to be about 25 hours for new players, though veterans could do it quicker if they don't explore every nook and cranny of the campaign. I encourage everyone to embrace the campaign, honestly. Let's go explore, especially that you got zones where you get permanent buffs to your character. You get permanent fire res, cold res, lightning res, or whatever, and not to mention that you get additional skill points. So I do encourage everyone to enjoy the campaign, and you'll have a lot of time to hate it anyway in moving forward in the future. Probably the biggest thing that I noticed straight off the bat is, even before they mentioned it in the reveal trailer, is that you only have 2 flasks, right? You got 1 life, 1 mana, that's it. This change places, I think, a greater importance on flask rolling, and I don't like that. I don't like flask rolling. But it could be very rewarding getting a good, well-rolled flask in the end game. You know, roll 1, keep it forever. Or it could be really, really tedious depending on how many modifiers, the tier of the modifiers, and just how easy it will be to roll said flask. All right. Speaking of rolling, when it comes down to crafting, this piqued my interest quite a bit because crafting in POE 2 is undergoing like a serious overhaul. The first thing that comes to mind are essences. They mentioned in the reveal trailer that essences are very different how they work. Usually when in POE 1 you use an essence, it gives you the item, gives you 1 mod and then random other modifiers, right? So you just aim for 1 mod and then another mod that roll randomly. Now they showed us in the trailer that you can use 1 essence to guarantee 1 mod, and then use another essence of a higher tier to guarantee the second mod without adding additional modifiers. So it has really high potential early to get some really, really good items. Also, I think meta crafting is making a return. They showed us that omens now have the potential to selectively remove specific mods without jeopardizing others, a feature that reminds me of Old Harvest. Right, remove, add, reroll suffixes and stuff like that. Reforge, keep suffixes, and I think this is a fantastic decision. Scarcity of these omens is yet to be discovered. They could be really, really rare, or they could be really, really common. We just don't know yet. We have to wait and see. Another thing that is important, I would say, is the change to items itself. In POE 1, we're familiar with sockets on items, right? Because that's where we put our skill gems. Now, in POE 2, this won't be the case. In POE 2, in the sockets, we're going to put our runes, which have double modifiers. And some of them could potentially be really, really strong. And if what they mentioned in the trailer is that 2 handlers and chest pieces have 2 sockets, and the rest of items have 1 socket with the ability of getting an additional socket upon Vol corruption. Now, voling items has always been a gamble in PoE, so could be a huge payout, could be a huge brick, who knows. When it comes down to the voling, I think they mentioned that vol orbs only drop in the trial. So it could pigeonhole you into doing certain mechanics that you don't want just to get the items that you want. It's kind of like pseudo SSF, I guess, if you don't want to bother with trading, but we're keeping the auction house, so I think it should be fine. A thing that I really don't understand is some mechanics have their name changed from PoE 1 to PoE 2. Strong boxes and anointing now have different names in PoE 2. It's not a major issue, I just don't get why it's been changed. But it's whatever, it's like a pet peeve, I guess. Only content like Sanctum and Ultimatum being integrated into Trials, replacing the Labyrinth. While these changes do add variety, they also gate certain powerful mechanics, like the Valors or the Jewels behind this specific content. If I understood correctly, and these items are locked behind the Trials, like I said earlier, they could alien the players who dislike this mechanic. Like I personally hate Sanctum. Now, when it comes to the endgame, this is the good part, and could be bad part. I don't know. The infinite antlers concept is very interesting. The sheer potential of customization is through the roof. However, it does raise some concerns and questions for me. Like, is the atlas unique for every player? Like, is my atlas going to be completely different to yours? And if so, how will farming strategies be? How can you replicate a farming strategy from one player to another? So let's say I find a farming strategy that's really lucrative. I make a video about it, I show my atlas, and then you, as a viewer, can't copy it because the atlas tree is not the same. So what will you do? You have to explore more, find something similar, and then improvise. That could be a good thing. Or a bad thing, depending how you look on it. Also, the inability to rerun completed maps or failed maps is also a huge change, I think. I don't remember from the presentation if they mentioned that you can rerun the same map over and over, or if you run it once, it's done. But if you can rerun it, then you can just stay in one zone forever if you really like it. If you find a good zone with good layouts, good mob density and stuff like that, then you can stay potentially in that zone forever. Especially if that zone is in the proximity of multiple towers. The towers that they added to the endgame, where you can juice the content and add those tablets in the towers to basically force mechanics like Breach, Delirium, and whatever we're getting, could mean that you find a really good zone and then you stay there forever and just farm the same quote-unquote maps over and over. We'll just wait and see. The Atlas tree also looks more streamlined than in PoE 1. And I think in PoE 1, in PoE 2, we only get 7 skill trees. One for each mechanic. One for each mechanic, and each mechanic being tied to a boss / uber boss at the end. Beating that boss will unlock points in that skill tree. Now, they did say that the bosses have scaling difficulties, like you got difficulty 1, 2, 3, 4. I do believe that the first difficulty will be very accessible to everybody and just give you your points for free, basically. I could be wrong, though. Now, the problem with the bosses is, I won't say it's necessarily a problem, but it's something new. Basically, you only get one portal from my understanding. Now, I watched this twice, and I did understand that you only get one portal per boss. So you got to take it from 100 to 0 without dying. Now, this is very good because it forces you to learn mechanics. You basically don't corpse rush anymore. But I get this is not for everybody. Same for probably the Uber bosses. Like they said, you got this tower or something where you gotta find 3 keys, and each key is designated to a certain faction. And you gotta kill the boss of the said faction to unlock the key. And if you fail to kill the generals or the boss, then that faction goes somewhere else on the atlas, and then you gotta go and find it. And then basically start over. Replayability, tedious, you tell me. Now, the biggest concerns that I have, besides the weapon swapping and stuff like that, I am interested about the telegraphed attacks the bosses have. They need to be exceptionally clear, since they're like a one-shot boss, right? So you gotta take it from 100 to 0 in one try, or you gotta refarm the mats again and go again. Streamers and people who got to play it early said that the telegraphs are very good, so I have high hopes for that. In the trailer, they said you have a stun bar for the warrior class when you got a shield, but it's situated somewhere around here, this one over here. I don't like that placement. I want that to be above my head, if it's possible. That would be nice. Skill swapping, again, could be cumbersome for some people, could be clunky, we don't know. Hopefully it's good, hopefully I'm dead wrong. And yeah. The tutorial is another thing that I'm very concerned about, because the tutorial in POE 1 is absolute trash. If they nail the tutorial, new players will have the time of their lives. If they fail the tutorial, new players will hate it. So I do hope that they mind this, they take care of this, and they have a perfectly explained tutorial, like everything to be there. Alright, so I think those are some of my concerns. Oh, and the gold pickup range. Yes, gold pickup range needs to be big, so you don't just run around picking gold all the time. Yeah, that's about it. Regarding my plans, I'm leaning towards starting a mercenary. I think it looks really, really fun, but eventually I'll be exploring all the classes, playing all the builds that I can think of. And as for you guys, expect some guides, some videos, some feedback as we hop on this bandwagon of PoE 2. And my last concern is PoE 1. I hope PoE 1 does not die. I hope PoE 1 keeps up to date with PoE 2. I hope that GG keeps their word, and we're gonna have like a we're gonna have the leagues back to back, right? You got PoE 2 league, PoE 1 league, PoE 2 league, PoE 1 league, and not these 7-month leagues that we're currently experiencing. Anyway, that's about it. Let me know your plans for early access. If you're jumping in or you're sitting this one out, let me know. And what are you most excited for or most concerned of? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next one.